Here we will see loop statements in JavaScript. Loops are used to perform repeated tasks based on a condition. The conditions typically returns true or false. A loop will continue running until the defined condition returns false. Loop statements allows us to execute a set of instructions repeatedly, which makes our code more efficient and reduce redundancy. Different loop statements in JavaScript are as follows. First is while loop. The while loop creates a loop that is executed as long as the specified condition evaluates to true. The condition is specified before the loop, and usually some variable is incremented or altered in the while loop body to determine when the loop should stop. Here, first test expression is executed. If it returns true, the body of while loop is executed, and if it returns false, it will exit from the while loop. General syntax is while condition and then code of block to be executed. Here is an example. Here initially value of I is set to 0, and we will use while loop to check the condition I less than 5. Here the code block is executed as long as the condition I less than 5 is true. And inside the while loop we will print the value of I, and then we will increment the I. And this process will repeat it until the condition becomes false. So it will give the output 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next is do while loop. A do while statement creates a loop that executes a block of code once. It checks if a condition is true and then repeats the loop as long as the condition remains true. They are used when the loop body needs to be executed at least once. The loop ends when the condition evaluates to false. Here first loop body is executed and then condition is checked. If the condition is true, again the body of loop is executed, and if the condition is false, it will exit from the body of loop. General syntax is do, then code, and then while condition. Here we will see an example. Here value of I is initialized with the 0. Here the code block is executed at least once, which will print value of I on the console, and then it will check condition I less than 5, and if it evaluates true, the loop continues and the code block is executed again, so it will print value of I again, and this process will repeat until the condition becomes false. So it will print the output as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Next is for loop. The for loop is a repetition control structure that allows user to efficiently write a loop that needs to be executed specific number of times. Here first value is initialized, then test expression is checked. If it is true, the body of for loop is executed, then counter statement is executed, and again test expression is checked, and when the expression is false, it will exit from the for loop. General syntax is for initialization, condition, increment, and inside the loop the code to be executed. Here the initialization step is executed only once before the loop starts. It is where we declare the initialization any variables that is used in the loop. The condition is evaluated before each iteration, and if it evaluates to true, the loop continues. And the increment step is executed after each iteration and is typically used to update the loop control variable. Here is an example. Here we have written the for loop. So here I is initialized with the 0, and then we will print the value of I. This process is repeated until the condition becomes false. Here the loop will iterate 5 times, which will print the values from 0 to 4. Next is for in loop. The for in loop is used to iterate the properties of an object. The for in loop can be used to extract the names and values of any object. It allows looping through all elements of an array or properties of an object. General syntax is let, then variable name in object name and the statements to execute. Here variable name is the name of the variable and object name is the name of the object. Here we see example. Here we have defined an array with values 75, 14, 89, 16, and to print the elements we will use for in loop. This process repeats until all elements from the array are printed. So this loop will iterate 4 times and it will give the values as 75, 14, 89 and 16. Then for of loop. The for of statement is used to iterate over the iterable objects such as arrays, strings and other iterable built-in objects. It provides a simpler and more concise syntax compared to the for loop or for in loop. General syntax is for let variable name of object name and the statements to execute. For example, here array number is declared with values 75, 14, 89 and 16, and to print the array elements we will use for of loop. This process will be repeated until the all elements from the array are printed. So it will give the output as 75, 14, 89 and 16. The difference between for in and for of loops are for in loop works with objects and arrays, but it is more suitable to objects. And for of loop works with arrays only. For in loop deals with the data structure over data value, whereas for of loop deals with the data value over the data structure. For in can be used in most of the cases, as when you are using it with both objects and arrays, and also you can get the values of the properties using their keys. And when you are only working with the arrays and only cares about the property value, it will better to use for of loop.